You listened to him on the KVJ show for years. Every time he tried to talk sports, he'd get shut down. After years of begging, we finally gave in. Brought to you by Bremen Motor Cars and by Wellington Anti-Aging. It's Kevin's Other Show on 640 The Hurricane.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to get to here on a Monday. Good stuff, Diener. Good stuff we got today.
Always nice on a Monday. You know, a lot of people are sad on Mondays, but we're happy because so much happens throughout the weekend. We're just chomping at the bit by the time Monday afternoon comes around.
Well, we got a ton of football to get to. Going to be talking a little bit about college. The AP poll is out. Where do all the Florida teams rank? How about your Canes? Where'd they go? You happy with the ranking they've got?
I'm okay with it for today, yeah.
Did FAU make the top 25? Should they have made the top 25? We'll discuss that. Going to talk a little bit about the Dolphins' backup quarterback situation. How do you feel after 2 preseason games of watching the Fins? And we'll also talk a little high school football. Stuff was going on Friday night, and you probably have heard a little bit about the chaos that happened at Palm Beach Central High School. Still kind of chaotic, just trying to sort through exactly what went down. But there was a shooting that had happened, ended the game fourth quarter with Palm Beach Central over Dwyer. A big game.
Yeah.
In that respect, 2 top teams, 5-3 was the score at the time when the shooting happened. And if you're watching social media, you just saw video footage of people, being ushered out of the stadium and kind of like run a little bit crazy. So we got John Evanson from CBS 12 on here to try to figure out what he knows and what everybody knows, because to me there's been some inconsistency in just trying to nail down exactly who it is and what happened. 2 people were shot. 1 was taken to the hospital. 1 they brought in the Trauma Hawk for. 1 in critical condition. 1 not is badly injured. So, John, we just want to see, do you have any kind of idea as to confirmation on who was shot, who the shooters were, and how many people were hit? From what I understand, it happened in the parking lot. Is that what you got on this, John?
Yeah, officially, I believe it happened off school property, and I guess all we know at this point is what the players who we have spoken to have been able to tell us is that it was the father of one of the players on the Dwyer team who was shot along with another adult male. But you're right, things have been very tight-lipped on this one. Names have been kept back at this point. We're just going off of what we're hearing from the different players who we speak to. A night on Friday, I had my I was not there. I happened to be in the studio that night, but I had my camera guy call me at around 9:15. I thought he was, great, early highlights. I can get these ready to go, locked and loaded in the show. And he's got the sound of panic in his voice. You've seen the video of everyone sort of literally running for their lives, not knowing what's happening. And all of a sudden it was a breaking news scenario rather than a sports highlight scenario.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's sad, and now here you are. I mean, we just had too much of this happening in South Florida, and so they're trying to be proactive with the Palm Beach County School District, and now they're trying to put in some changes here to keep this from happening, and it doesn't sound like the options they've thrown out are necessarily very popular, at least with the Palm Beach Central coach. They're talking about taking some of the games now and moving them to Saturday. Some will be moved up till 6 p.m. on a Friday night. And some of the complaints about moving the games to Saturday, Palm Beach Central's coach is saying, I've got a lot of players that work on Saturdays. There's SATs that are going on, not to mention you're talking about heat in South Florida. You start the game at 10 a.m., you're playing at noon. It's going to be crazy hot, and there are health conditions that are concerning for our players. So, John, what are you making of this, and what about these changes? Are they going to stick with these, or are they getting so much brushback that they might try another option?
I think this is the week 1 decision at this point. They have to come to a decision really quickly before a Monday morning. I mean, they were meeting yesterday about this. Of course, you can understand why they're in a panic here to try to figure something out. Parents and students who were at that game on Friday, you can imagine. I mean, when I got the call from my camera guy, instantly my heart was pounding in the studio. I'm thinking, oh, here we go again, another tragic school shooting. You don't know the magnitude of it. You don't know the shooter hasn't been caught yet. Everybody who was at that game went through that times 20, times 30. They were evacuating, escaping, not knowing. They felt like it was that type of situation. Thank goodness it wasn't. It was, it was a targeted altercation separate from, a student or somebody who wanted to hurt students. But just to have that feeling and to think of what could happen, they're trying to come up with short-term solutions now, and then, yes, to answer your question, I think they will have a week 2 solution that will either be close to the same as what we're seeing now, but you're right, the coaches aren't happy with the 10 a.m. start times, and you can understand. It's, students, as he said, they have jobs that they're trying to make money on the weekend, and it's just not ideal time either to have a football game. These games mean a lot for them. They've worked hard for these football games, and to now have them on Saturday morning, so something that was completely out of their hands is something that's kind of frustrating for the coaches.
John Evanson on here from CBS 12 with us talking about the shooting that happened at Palm Beach Central High School on Friday night. The thing I'm confused about, some of these games that are going on right now, they call them preseason games. Do these count to the team's records and their ultimate standings and whether or not they're going to make the playoffs at the end of the year, John?
Well, the Kickoff Classic, these games that happened on Friday were just that, preseason games. They had no meaning to them at all other than the fact that Palm Beach Central and Dwyer are two of the most highly touted teams heading into the season. So this was a big game. This was like a real game. The stands, as you saw, were absolutely packed. Everybody who wanted to see a good football game on Friday, they went to that game, and unfortunately had to go through what they went through. But it's a short football season, as we know, a short high school football season, and every single game is important stuff. So there've been some playoff structure changes over the years that it's hard to keep up with sometimes. But the coaches want to play in the most ideal conditions here and get the most out of their season.
Thing that was crazy was, even after the game, maybe you saw the story, there was this guy who was a vendor that was working like Rita's Frozen Ice, and listen to what he said. He grabs up his cash when he hears the gunfire going off, and then 3 suspects mug him of like $1,500.
Insane.
And he gets beat up in the process. Here he is talking a little bit about it.
Right after I jumped the fence, I got mugged by these 3 kids. You're trying to do a good thing, and in the middle of that whole situation, they take advantage of it. It's sick.
So, I don't know what we make about the violence around this. There's 2 separate instances around this one game. Are we going to have to see some kind of changes happening? Because the first thing I thought, well, one, you could maybe try to do something like metal detectors getting into the games. But first of all, that's expensive, and that would take forever to get people into the games. I don't know if a lot of schools could even afford that. And 2, that doesn't even solve the problem which you had on Friday night, because this happened in the parking lot.
Yep. Yeah, clearly. I mean, they can only secure the school itself and the school property and the football field. And all of these things, I mean, another layer, that incident you just brought up. I mean, who in their right mind in this state of panic? I guess it's the mentality of, when something's going awry, when people loot, when bad people loot, they saw an opportunity right off the bat to take further advantage of this. And I guess it further proves that, I mean, in some of these cases, these games are clearly attracting the wrong people to the games, people who you don't want at a high school football game. And there has to be some way for the schools and the school board to figure out how to make these safer football games. And I think the outcry from the parents over the weekend, I mean, the argument from the coaches, of course, it was nothing to do with a student of ours. It wasn't our fault. It was just people coming to to cause trouble where we were. But that doesn't solve the fact that, hundreds of people were scared for their lives, and parents were trying to get in touch with their kids as they were running all over the field. And it was just an absolute nightmare that luckily turned out not to be as bad from anybody.
Could have been a lot worse from what we've seen in South Florida as well. Well, I don't know how much you read into some of these games, but some of the highlights from over the weekend: Palm Beach Gardens beat Glade Central 38-35. American Heritage Plantation looks great too, beating University School 48-24. And you saw Palm Beach Lakes on Miramar 14-12, and Boca Raton on Seminole Ridge 27-14. Was there any games from Friday, John, that kind of jumped out to you, saying, okay, this team might be better or might be surprising, and keep an eye out for them this season?
I have to be 100% honest with you. I was in full high school mode. I had a couple of shooters out there, or camera persons, I should say. Everything went out the window when this incident happened. We went right into breaking news mode, and that sort of was the. Unfortunately, I mean, they were a kickoff classic, our first chance to see some of these great teams, and those teams that you mentioned are all going to be fun to watch this season when we get this thing going. But just everybody is talking about what happened on Friday with the shooting, and the Dwyer Palm Beach Central game surprised me a bit from the highlights that we do have of that.
Yeah, 5-3 game. I mean, considering how good Dwyer is supposed to be.
Yeah, we saw that from Dwyer last year as well. Their last game of the season, I think it might have been a similar score, like 5-3 or something like that, and a game-winning field goal, and that was their season. It was over. So I think obviously the offensive issues might still be an issue for the Panthers, but they have so much talent. I have a feeling Jack Daniels is the type of guy to figure that all out. Right. And then Central, they're going to be beasts too. So I know they're not very happy. Part of the reason why they're so unhappy with their schedule being messed with now, but hopefully once this all settles, those are ironically the two teams that I would look out for the most, along with Atlantic.
Yeah, well, big games. You got Dwyer hosting Park Vista coming up this week, and then you've got Palm Beach Central playing at Atlantic, but those are going to be the Saturday games that they're talking about as of right now. Going to keep John with us here in just a second. How much do you put on what the Dolphins have been doing in the preseason, and do you like what you see? We'll discuss coming up next.
Get Kevin's other show whenever the hell you want on YouTube and at 640thehurricane.com.
Well, I tried to watch as much preseason NFL action as I could. I got to admit, man, after watching a little bit of Hard Knocks, I'm kind of invested in the Browns. I don't know why.
It's interesting, yeah.
I really am kind of locked in there, and I don't know if I'm hanging too much on it. But if you had to say right now, which team do you like better in the preseason? Just seeing what they have, the Browns or the Dolphins?
Don't say it.
I'm sorry. I'm a lot more excited with the talent that's happening with the Browns and what they have. And they've just gotten better with Josh Gordon going to be coming back. Their quarterback situation seems to be, I think, better than what the Dolphins have. Their running back situation, likely better than what the Dolphins have. I don't know. John Evanson's on here from CBS 12. Am I wrong in any of this, John? What are you seeing when you're watching the Dolphins?
I'd say we got to get some of those Bud Light fridges with the padlocks set up across South Florida. So when the Dolphins win that game, my gosh, have you seen this in Cleveland?
We love that.
Yeah. I think it's a great marketing tool. I think it's pretty awesome. And you're right. They might be cracking those sooner rather than later. I mean, they've got, some solid people too. Myles Garrett on the defense. I'm just looking at the Browns roster and how they're playing in just 2 preseason games. And, okay, what are the bright spots? I don't want to get so negative here on the Dolphins.
Did you see those field goals on Friday?
There you go, Greg Joseph,
Greg Joseph and Jason Sanders. They were just set up to shine.
Okay, all right, well, that's probably a good thing to go with because you're looking at a team that might be kicking a lot of them.
you got to have someone who's good at it then, right? That works.
I don't know what was more frustrating, watching the defense or the offense, or the fact that at the end of the game, I expected to see Adam Gase red in the face, not happy with anything, and he seemed almost content with what he saw. It's a very strange phenomenon, but yeah, the Dolphins 2 of 12 on third downs. Jeez. We saw that same old story, that movie that we've seen thousands of times, at least all last year, is a promising start to a drive. And then the penalties start to get in the way, holding penalties, delay of game penalties, just unforced mistakes that just kill the drive, and then you're stuck watching a ball kick through the uprights.
Mm-hmm. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, John, but it was kind of encouraging. The defense played kind of well, right? Am I wrong about that? I know they give up the big run to McCaffrey.
Yeah.
It was one play. There was one play. And then they had the broken coverage on the tight end. But really, I mean, aside from 2 plays that were touchdowns, the defense actually did kind of look good, right? I mean,
maybe the slight improvement. I think they've allowed something like 300 yards rushing in the first 2 exhibition games, so that's a little bit of a worry. The D-line specifically is something that we're still hoping to see come together with Sue gone. I don't know if you saw Sue on social media.
Yes.
The NFL posted the highlight of that McCaffrey 71-yard untouched, basically, touchdown. And Ndamukong Suh just, randomly in the comments section with the rest of the NFL fans just decided to chime in right up the gut.
Yeah.
Lol, so Sue was having a laugh from a distance, which I didn't think was very cool, but, you got Kendall Langford there and Spence and Phillips, but not looking quite like you want them to look yet as far as the running defense goes.
Well, it's going to be a different team, right? They're going to be probably a little bit better against the pass, you think, and maybe a little bit more suspect against the run now, a little bit of a flip from last year?
Yeah, that's what we're hearing from Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator. And, he kind of reamed his players out after the Tampa Bay game, changed some things up a little bit, and that's more or less what Gase was saying when he was being grilled on why he's not coming out there with a red face and talking about the negative things, which Dolphin fans like to harp on. There were some positive things, but we did see some of the same, and it's just because it's some of the same stuff that we saw. I mean, part of the collapse last season was some of the stuff we saw on defense early on. The negative stuff we saw contributed to the 6-10 record last year. 170 yards rushing 3 times in those final games. We're just sort of looking for somebody to say, listen, there are going to be changes. You're going to see them, and the coaches are seeing them. We're just not seeing them yet as the common fan.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I mean, I feel like Howard had an interception off of Cam Newton. They got a lot of pressure on Cam Newton. Quinn had 2 sacks. I mean, right, there was some encouraging signs on the defense, right? I mean, am I crazy?
Yeah, Robert Quinn, as you mentioned, 2 sacks. He looked like a beast.
Yeah.
There was some hunger there, and they're trying out different things. I mean, that's what the preseason is for. I mean, similar to the baseball preseason, it's 6 weeks long of us trying to figure out what players you want on your team. Same in football, but the difference is you're trying people out in different situations. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work because you're just trying to see what does work, what doesn't work, and when it doesn't work, fans tend to think, oh, this is a real football game, which it is absolutely not. So the final score, 27-20. If they go 0-4 in the preseason, doesn't matter. As long as Adam Gase has a better idea of what he's working with here and what situations he can put these players in.
Well, that's his defense. He's saying, look, everything is vanilla by design, so don't read anything into this. But the one thing, when you see some of these other teams, and you even see McCaffrey breaking loose, do you get the feeling, John, that it just seems like the Dolphins are lacking playmakers, somebody that could take a game and turn it upside down and quickly turn the course of a game?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we did see there were some specific names that did jump out at you at the end of that game. We mentioned, Quinn on defense. So far in the preseason, we haven't seen much in game action from Gesicki, but he's being touted as finally the tight end that we're going to be all excited about. And I was excited to see the wide receivers. I mean, Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker not playing in the game on Friday, but my goodness, did Albert Wilson look like somebody who could really get into they're going to use this guy a lot.
I like him a lot.
He's so versatile. You have Danny Amendola there. I think the receiver. I like where they're at with these receivers. I think they could all be playmakers. Hopefully, Devontae Parker finally lives up to what he was supposed to be. But with Albert Wilson in there, I think we're going to be keeping a lot of teams honest.
The backup quarterback situation is not looking great.
No,
that's true. That's true. Yes.
Yeah, no one has rise to the top whatsoever in that scenario.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you looking at something where out of these two, who gets cut? I mean, I think they're doing a cut September 1st. Somebody's got to go. Is it going to be Fales or is it going to be Osweiler?
God, it's just one minute I'm thinking one guy, 1 minute I'm thinking the next. It's not a very good sign. You see Petty, rushing in with that great effort.
Is he going to be the backup quarterback? Is he going to be the backup quarterback?
No.
Is that what we're getting to?
No.
You see the sideline. You see the smiles on Tannehill's face. It was just he's such a gritty guy. I mean, he pulled off the touchdown at the end of the last game too, with some pretty good plays. But no, I would have to think. My goodness, it's just so hard to say because Gase loves to put his stock in these big name veterans that he has faith in and doesn't like to back down from his thought that it's a benefit to sign a guy like Brock. But then, there's an argument that they've put a lot of stock into Fales as well, and I mean, none of them have looked any better than the other. They've had
they got a habit of cutting Fales, though. I have a feeling Fales is gone.
So sad.
That could be a safe bet. I mean, but again, I don't know how fair that would be. Since they could cut all of them and just sign a whole. Let's look at the CFL and see who we could bring in here. Maybe we'll find somebody. But that wasn't a Johnny Football reference either.
I was wondering. Yeah, we're not talking Manziel, 4 picks.
Hashtag cut.
He's got some work to do.
Yeah.
Hashtag cut Osweiler. I'm starting it now. New campaign. Get it trending on Twitter. Hashtag cut Osweiler. There it is.
All right, go Fales.
Something with better than cut Osweiler.
Yeah.
That's what I came up with it. I don't know.
Well, they say.
Let the lobster loose.
Something. I don't know. Just get rid of him.
All right, John, thanks for jumping in with us today. We appreciate it, bud.
You're welcome. Yes, well, we'll see. Game 3 is always the big one, so we'll see most of the first-teamers playing in that one. I think we'll get a way better indication as to what we should be pressing the panic button about at this time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good stuff. All right, thank you very much. We got John Emerson there. Thank you so much for checking in with the CBS 12, bud.
Thanks, bud.
You got it.
Coming up here in a couple of minutes, got the AP poll is out. Where are the Canes? UCF, are they on it? What about the Gators? FAU? Did all these teams make it? Florida State, where did they land on the poll? I'll tell you, not all Florida teams made it. And is it fair or not? We'll discuss next.
Yep, he's here too. It's Kevin's Other Show, right here on 640 The Hurricane.
Well, the AP poll is out. It means absolutely nothing because it's going to be pretty much erased by week 4 anyway of the college football season, as it is every single year. But breaking it down by conference, what do you see? No surprise, Alabama's number 1, getting 42 out of 61 first-place votes.
Duh.
Clemson picked up 18 at number 2. You've got Georgia at 3, Wisconsin 4, and Ohio State in at number 5. Your Canes are number 8 in the AP.
It's fair. That's where they were in the coaches poll, USA Today. It's fair.
Looking at 20-1 odds to win the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think that's it's a tough number, but also, again, fair. I mean, if you're going to be 8th in the country, sounds about right.
Florida State locks in at number 19 in the new AP poll. UCF at 21. But you look at the poll, and you're not seeing any FAU, no Florida Gators, no USF.
So, no Gators. That one surprised me a little bit more. I didn't expect FAU or USF to really get in top 25 right now. Give it some time. You know what I mean? If FAU goes 10-0 again and they're doing really well, then yeah, they'll break in there. Or if they beat Oklahoma, though they will make into the top 25 from there after week 1 if they beat Oklahoma, if they're able to actually pull that off. But what was striking to me was that Florida State was 19 and UCF was 21.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 spots only separate those 2 schools.
Not a lot of faith in Florida State right now.
No.
And I think they still are not really. I was really surprised because I was reading something about the Noles, and it sounds like Francois is not the guy who's going to get plugged back in, the guy who was knocked out in the Alabama game last year. It looks like Blackman from Glade Central is actually possibly in the lead, and there's another quarterback. It looked like Francois was 3rd on the depth chart right now. And it's basically just about his understanding of the offense, and they got a new system that is in there.
That's true, yeah.
With the coaching change. The SEC lead the way. They got 6 teams in the top 25. Big Ten is next. They've got 5 teams in there, and your ACC's got 4 along with the Big 12.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, when you really break it down that way, it's kind of what we expected, I think, right? When you look at the conferences and the way things have been going over the past couple of years.
Nothing shocking about it. And again, you can be as outraged as you want, and it just doesn't mean a thing. I mean, it's about now, okay, come out and prove it and see what happens.
Pretty much.
Nobody should really be upset, no matter who you are.
No, yeah.
Who cares?
It's hard to be upset over a top 25.
Just go out and win.
Do you think, FAU fans are upset at all? That they're not in the preseason top 25?
I don't know. I don't think they should. I don't know why you would be upset right now. And in fact, look, honestly, if anything, for teams that are outside of the top 10, I would say any team, actually. I would say you want to be underrated right now because it gives you a chip on your shoulder. And don't you love to have an angry team?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You don't want that rat poison. That's what it is. When you're being overhyped, it's just so hard to stay on top. So if you're FAU, don't be upset. Be like, okay, it's cool. We're good. I'd be fine. You know exactly where we are. Now, FAU yesterday, they did something kind of rare. They let the offensive and defensive coordinator talk. They had their media day yesterday.
Oh, good.
Jake Elman checking in here. The Palm Beach Post does the write-up for the FAU Owls. He's out there sweating his behind off every single day to give us great coverage of what the Owls are going on. Jake, do you think FAU is upset today that they didn't make the AP Top 25, and should they be?
Well, I don't think that Lane Kiffin is that upset, given that he said in the past that the preseason poll means nothing.
There you go.
But, you know, with the players, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are a bit disappointed. You know, you think about everything that they've accomplished in the past year. You think about what some of the guys said yesterday, that they consider themselves to be the best team in the state of Florida, and nothing against Miami and UCF. They both deserve to be in the top 25, but I really think that FAU players and maybe some of the coaches and definitely the people in the athletic administration think that they're definitely a top 25 team as well.
What is the attitude Lane Kiffin wants this FAU team to have? Does he want them to be confident, or is he scared about that because he's talked about the whole rat poison thing and jumped off his old boss Nick Saban? And, you know, here you got senior cornerback Herb Miller, who's saying that he thinks they're the best team in Florida. And, I mean, let's be realistic. Jake, do you believe that FAU is the best team in the state of Florida?
I don't want the FAU players listening to get mad at me, but I do not.
Hey, no, you're honest. You're honest.
I think right now, based on, you look at conference, you look at what each team brings back, I think UCF, I would probably put UCF and FAU tied at 2. And I think you can go either way, because you can say, okay, FAU has Devin Singletary at running back, but UCF has Mackenzie Milton at quarterback. I think Miami right now, and I'm a bit cynical on Miami. Again, all due respect to Canes fans, I'm a bit cynical on them. I still think that they're a 9-10 win team. So, I mean, my top 3 would probably be Miami, FAU, UCF, and then Florida State, USF, UF, and FIU.
Wow.
Oh, wait, so you're putting the Gators all the way at like 6th in the state of Florida.
Right.
I am not. I am very cynical about the Gators this year.
Wow.
Okay, well
talk about a fall from grace. Barely beating FIU.
They've still had some good recruiting. They've got some good pieces. Dan Mullen seems to know how to take a team that shouldn't be great. I mean, if he can win at Mississippi State, wouldn't you think with some of the players he's got at Florida? He doesn't necessarily have that. You know, he's got Felipe Franks right there at quarterback, and he's got a couple other pieces that could actually beat out Felipe Franks. You think with all that, you're still looking at the Gators being the 6th best team in Florida, huh?
Yeah, part of it is, you know, you look at their conference, you look at their schedule, you look at, you're getting some guys back from injury and suspension, but there's question marks. I think that this is a team that, with the Gators, they could win 6 games or they could win 9 games.
Okay, but you're talking about the overall record. If you lined the FAU Fighting Owls up against the Florida Gators right now, and let's even put them on a neutral field, you believe that FAU would beat Florida?
Jake, you threw Kev for a loop, man. You should have seen his face.
No, I'm just surprised. I want to clarify what we're talking about here when he's putting him so low. You think on a neutral field, FAU would beat Florida?
Yeah.
Wow.
FAU almost beat them in Gainesville 3 years ago. I think FAU is much better now than they were in 2015, and I think UF is worse off by a large margin than they were in 2015. And listen, I said last year on air, I said it in print, I said if FAU went up against FSU in a bowl game, and this was before the Boca Bowl was announced, FAU, I mean, going into last year, when would you have said that FAU could beat a Power 5 school? Could be a blue-chip, blue-blood program like Florida State. And I still think this year, I think if you put FAU against Florida State, it's not a bias, it's not homerism. I think FAU, you return 10 starters on defense. You have some of the best players in Conference USA, and you have Devin Singletary, who I would say is a top 3 running back in the nation. You have some dangerous targets on offense. This is a complete team.
It is, but Jake, I mean, you're talking about a team last year at FAU, and you must say that they were greatly improved by the end of the season because they lost pretty badly to Navy.
Well, Navy, you got to remember, Navy, for a lot of those guys, that was the first time that they had faced a triple option offense, and some of those guys had faced triple offense options before, but not since high school.
Okay.
So you take Azeez Al-Shire, all-conference linebacker, number 79 on Sports Illustrated's top 100 players. You take Jalen Young, all-conference safety, and really my preseason pick for Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. So you have those elite players in Conference USA, but you're putting them up against an offense that they've never played. And the defense wasn't where it became later on. They had added Jeremiah Taleni at defensive tackle only a couple weeks before. Azeez was healthy, but he was still figuring out the new defense. The secondary wasn't exactly proven yet. Mm-hmm. And by the time at the end of the season came, some of the players said, hey, put us up against Davey again. We think that we can stop him.
I think he's convinced me, Kev. I'm a believer.
No, I mean, I know Jake believes, and I don't want to down them FAU fight nows, but I mean, I think when you're going up against the Power Five, and you're going to find out pretty quickly because, FAU's got a couple of tough games. I mean, first of all, they started Oklahoma, and there are some people that are saying that is going to be an upset, even in the national media. They're saying look out for that game. I think more realistically, this really defines FAU's season. On September 21st, they're going to Orlando to take on UCF. Jake, how do you see that game going?
Well, I mean, let's start with the Oklahoma game because I think even if FAU goes into Oklahoma and loses, I think the most important thing is that they compete. You think about the expectations. You think about that they're playing on the road against a program that they've never played. If they lose by 10 points, it's a loss, but it looks a lot better than losing by 50, like they did to Kansas State a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. I view that game against Oklahoma kind of like against Wisconsin last year. You go, you compete. They're probably still going to be figuring out the offense and how the quarterback is going and how the quarterback situation is going to go. But with the UCF game, that's a Friday night primetime game. There's a lot of fans on both sides excited, and I think, listen, if FAU loses against Oklahoma, they come back, they beat Air Force on September 8th, they beat Bethune on September 15th, and they travel to UCF 6 days later and they win. We could very well be looking at a ranked FAU team going into Conference USA play.
That would be the case.
Do you see FAU finishing the year in the top 20, Jake?
I do. I think that if everything goes as planned, if you can get a quarterback who can stay the starter, who doesn't throw turnovers, you keep giving the ball to Singletary. Even if Singletary gets 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns, it's still an elite season. Mm-hmm. Your defense plays as expected. Your offensive line stays healthy.
That's a lot of ifs.
My prediction right now is my best case is FAU going 10-2.
Okay.
And I think 10-2, you factor in one of those games being a win at either UCF or Oklahoma. My guess is UCF. 7-1 in conference play with a couple big wins. There's no reason they shouldn't be ranked come the end of the season.
All right, Jake Elman is very high on the FAU Fighting Owls. I believe we're going to be talking to Kiffin tomorrow on the show.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see if he echoes what Jake had to say. Jake, thanks for coming on with us, bud. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay. Coming up here in just a couple of minutes, you see D. Wade blasting Jimmy Butler on Instagram.
I was scared for Jimmy Butler.
Dang, what's that all about? We'll give you the details coming up next.
Be part of the show on Twitter at 640 The Hurricane, hashtag Kevin's Other Show.
Well, if you missed the first part of the show, I want to hear a little talk about the shooting that happened at Palm Beach Central High School on Friday night. We got to that in segment 1. You can go check out our podcast, Kevin's Other Show, and you'll hear it right there. We blast it out every single day on our Twitter as well. If you're following 640 The Hurricane, it's going to be there easy for you to find. Hear the discussions that happened there and what went down, the updates on it, what they're going to do to try to remedy that problem from happening again. So that is going to be coming up. Something else you can check out on our Twitter, too. Did you happen to see the Canes' new indoor facility? They opened that up on Saturday.
Yes, finally. It's so exciting.
Looks really awesome.
It is nice, man. It's huge for getting these, bigger recruits in there. And they've been doing well with, having top 5 recruiting classes past year. Mm-hmm. So this will just make things even better for Mark Richt to get these guys.
Absolutely.
It's hot, man. I remember when my brother played there. Oh my gosh, it's a long time ago now. But I won't say how long ago it was. But it was, man, I remember being out at those practices, and it was just so hot.
It is, but and I would be surprised to see them use it much unless it's raining, because I think your added advantage.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're a Canes player is being able to deal with that humidity and play in that humidity. And when teams come down here, that is that added advantage. And if you soften them up and you're used to playing in AC all the time, then you're going to lose that advantage.
No, it's a good point. And that was my only drawback to this, is that because it's been an advantage for forever. I mean, as long as the program has been around, it's been an advantage.
But I think they use it wisely. I think they use it when they need to use it. Who was it that had their pro day in Coral Gables, and it was just raining buckets?
I believe it.
And they were trying to throw. Who was it? It was a quarterback they had a couple years ago. He's trying to throw for NFL scouts, and I mean, it's just you can't even keep a ball dry. Poor guy. Like, I can't remember who it was, but I'm like, it was just the worst situation.
Well, I mean, you even look at what FAU has gone through with Lane Kiffin. They've had a lot of practices delayed because of lightning this year.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
I think it's when they run into situations like that, not more out of, hey, guys, it's really hot out, let's go inside and practice in the air conditioning. I don't see Rick doing that a lot. I think it's going to be more weather-related, and you can say to recruits, hey, look, we have this open now. We're going to be able to get our work in.
Well, you might see that indoor facility being a sticking point for how long Lane's going to stay in Boca. That might be something where it's like going, hey, something I need.
Yeah, they had a lot of practices that have been screwed up because of lightning this year.
Plan on Kimi, you better find the funding.
1 year at a time for the Lane train. Maybe we can ask him that. We can ask him that tomorrow. Hey, Lane, how long do you plan on staying with FAU? Is this your final season?
Well, I'd like to ask him about the indoor facility.
Yeah.
Say, hey, where are we with that? And, what are your thoughts on it? How important is it to a program, especially in South Florida, where the weather's going to dictate a lot of your practices, probably more so than a lot of other programs?
It's a fair question.
Did you see over the weekend, fun little thing that went down? I don't know how serious it was. D. Wade blasting his former Bulls teammate Jimmy Butler. Gabrielle Union posted up a poolside photo on Instagram from the trip in Italy, and she's hanging with the fam. She's wearing a short sleeve crop top that's showing off the stomach.
Sure.
Nice bikini bottom.
Yeah.
Looking hot, as usual. So Jimmy Butler, now with the Timberwolves, he just put on the post, well, damn.
Uh-oh. Come on, man.
D. Wade jumps in. He said, quote, put well damn in caps on my wife photo again, and you're going to see what the good, the bad, and the ugly is like.
Yeah, I would take a step back if I'm Jimmy Butler.
Sounds a little serious, right?
Absolutely. I mean, look, they're good friends. We just played, a clip of them doing karaoke together a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
They're good friends. I'm sure they kind of go back and forth with each other. But, man, you start getting on somebody's wife, and yeah, that things can go sour real quick.
Butler responded, well, that escalated quickly. Point noted. Still coming to the barbecue, though. Gabrielle Union then posted up on the same post, crosses Jimmy off the BBQ list with a couple of 3 pairs of emoji eyes.
He's off the barbecue list now?
Yeah.
We didn't get that invite. What's that all about?
Yeah.
No?
No.
Okay, well, you know what? Then I'm just going to go ahead and comment on Gabrielle Union's pictures, because what do I got to lose?
Well, damn.
Yeah, I'm not going to get disinvited from a barbecue I haven't been invited to.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Well, I saved this for the end of the show, Diener. I knew you'd want to rip into this.
Okay.
I was reading the Twitter comments that were all over my feed. I was trying to just get, like, football news, and it's like all these guys who are supposed to be talking about football are talking about SummerSlam last night. So I saw Ronda Rousey. She won. Did she get on the mic? Or did they play it smart and not let her talk?
They did not let her talk. No.
Okay. Some of it, some people loved. Other parts, people are like going, come on, this is corny. What was the good, the bad, and the unnecessary with SummerSlam?
There was actually a lot lot good.
Okay.
Believe it or not. I'm really usually critical
was
with
Braun
what they
Strowman a part of this?
He was.
Okay.
He was. With Braun Strowman.
I saw some comments on that. Was that the good, the bad, or the indifferent?
I liked it, actually. I'm going to put it on the good side, and also the good side for me anyway. A lot of people don't like this guy, but to see Roman Reigns finally defeat Brock Lesnar. This has been a feud going on. Okay, but I know you know this. I don't even have to tell you.
Yeah.
It's been going on
So
now
Roman Reigns did take out Brock Lesnar.
He did.
But that was predicted because Brock is going to be jumping over to UFC for a little bit, so they had to get the belt to somebody else.
There was speculation that Vince McMahon was going to change his mind and want the cross-promotion of Brock being WWE champion and UFC champ at the same time.
Yeah.
But they kept with the original plan here.
Somebody tweeted out that something was absolutely brilliant. What was the most mind-blowing, brilliant thing they did on SummerSlam last night? Was that it, with how they dealt with the belt, with Roman Reigns?
To me, it was.
Okay.
I mean, there was a match with Seth Rollins going against, who was it, Dolph Ziggler. And that was a great match. I mean, those two guys can just put on a great match in the ring with each other. They know how to do it. You know what I mean? They're great in the ring. So that was wonderful. But to me, I thought the best thing was the end. Braun Strowman comes out. He has what's called the Money in the Bank briefcase. You got me into this now.
Yeah, Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yes.
Okay, Braun Strowman, what did he do?
So he comes out and says, I'm going to cash this in after the match is over. Because he can cash in his briefcase and then get a title shot anytime he wants.
Okay.
So he said, Braun Strowman being Braun Strowman, because he's a giant human being.
He is.
Says, I'm not going to do it behind your back. I'm going to do it in front of your face. I'm going to stand here beside the ring to wait and see who wins this match, and then I'm cashing it in. Well, Brock Lesnar ended up beating the snot out of him during the match.
Okay.
And he never got to cash it in. So that's how they kind of had Roman Reigns win that one, because they didn't make Brock Lesnar look any weaker.
Okay.
Because he destroyed Braun Strowman outside the ring, so he got distracted a little bit, and then Roman Reigns won
they
from
save
there.
his place until he goes and scratches that UFC itch, and then he comes back, and then you've got a title fight all set up.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I thought it was well done.
And you know what? Your wrestling coverage, fantastic, Dan.
I got you, man. Anytime you need it.
Fantastic stuff. All right, again, you can check out the entire podcast we got for you. And if you ever listen, and like we're preempted by Yankees or anything like that, just know there's going to be a show for you. Kevin's other show is going to be there. Just go along. You can actually go to our YouTube channel. If you go to the KVJ show, it's posted up there every single day. We've also got the podcast, Kevin's other show. You can check out, and you'll also get us on Twitter, anything going on there. So go shout out us there, Kevin's other show.
You listened to him on the KVJ show for years. Every time he tried to talk sports, he'd get shut down. After years of begging, we finally gave in. Brought to you by Wellington Anti-Aging. Low T? Go to WellingtonAntiAging.com. And by Bremen Motor Cars in West Palm Beach. A world-class experience. Shop BremenPorsche.com now. It's Kevin's other show on 640 The Hurricane.